Welcome back to another episode of the Outdoor Adventures podcast here on Brownfield. I'm Brent Barnett. This week's show is brought to you by Beck's Hybrids. At Beck's, we are and will remain farmers at heart. Well, joining us here on the program is Kent Boucher, my buddy here in Iowa, host of the First Gen Hunter podcast. Kent was on with us here just a few weeks ago when we previewed both archery season and the early muzzleloader season in Iowa. And now the early muzz season is past us, and Kent and I both had tags for that. So I thought it'd be a good idea to bring him back on, kind of conclude our three-part conversation and just talk about our experiences during early muzzleloader season this year. Kent, how you doing here this morning?
Oh, doing all right, buddy. I'm driving down a gravel road right now, so your listeners can know this. I truly am the country bumpkin that I sound like. They also can understand that we're recording this in my truck on my way to work because, harvest season. And as you just said, you and I have been hunting like crazy, trying to fit that in. It's the time that we had right now. So I'm happy to be here though, buddy. It's always good to talk with you.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to hearing about how early muzzleloader season went for you this year. Can't wait for you to share your story because I know you had some success that you can share with the listeners here.
Yeah.
So, Ken, I will tell you just for me personally, I didn't fill my tag in early muzzleloader, but, it wasn't all lost. I had some really good encounters. I saw more deer during this past week than I did all of last season. So I took that as a positive.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, it just felt nice to be in the game and seeing some action. And it just felt like it wasn't wasted time or anything like that.
Yeah, I think you're touching on something there that is an important thing for people to remember, and that is when we're stretched, when we have to, when we take on new things, it betters us and it gives us new experiences and it expands our horizon of knowledge and I guess the word to reuse there is just our horizon of experiences, which is just such an important part of growing as a hunter, is taking on those new things. And I guess when I was saying that, I was kind of also remembering that you weren't just hunting a new season, but one of your favorite hunting spots kind of got deleted off the map, possibly permanently.
Yep.
And so you had to like really branch out this season too and go find some new public land that you found to be pretty productive. So I think I think you're a great testament to the importance of people trying something different, when it comes to hunting.
It definitely forced myself to get out of my comfort zone. Like you said, that public land property you mentioned is no longer for use. And that came as a surprise in early October. And, I think it was my third sit during early muzzleloader season. It was a morning hunt, Kent, and I didn't see anything during that sit. And I decided, well, here late morning, I'm just going to go speed scout this property I've always had an eye on the map. And I'm really glad I did because I discovered a little pocket, little area that I didn't know about before. And there was a lot of great sign there. And I ended up spending the most of my time there the rest of early muzzleloader and saw so many deer. The number of deer was very encouraging. And I ended up putting up one of my cheap, Walmart trail cameras, not a cell cam. It's just one with like the old SD cards. And, it showed that there was a nice buck or two on that property as well. And even though it was during nighttime hours, it was only about an hour after dark or after, sundown. And so it just made me feel like I was doing something right. Like I was in the right area. Absolutely. And the deer are there. So I'm really excited for what's to come during archery season because I feel like I'll be going back there.
Absolutely. And you put that camera out there for basically 1 week of a time of year when bucks are not traveling all that much. They're still in a bed to food pattern for the most part. I mean, they're going out and they're starting to make some scrapes, but they are not. In fact, I think one of your trail camera pictures was of a nice buck making a scrape. But the imagine if you had that camera out like today, today, if if I could get out hunting today, man, I'd be excited because we got this nice giant cold front that came in overnight. And the you mentioned the success I had. The buck I shot, he made a scrape right in front of me. And then I had no shot while he was doing that. I had to wait about 40 minutes before he presented a better shot opportunity. But he was making a scrape, and it was just I hunted a ton during early muzz this year, and I just did not see hardly, well, really any scrape activity. Nothing opened up yet, really, until I killed that buck on the last sit of the season. So it, I think right now that camera, if it's still out there, is probably blowing up over these past few days, and will continue to only get better over the next week. And um, the there again, you trying the new thing. Sorry, I'm going over some rumble strips right now. Um, the you trying a new season in a new place when it comes to when you're back out there with a bow here soon. I think you got a great chance of filling that archery tag out there.
Yeah, thanks, man. That camera is still out there. I just swapped the card, so the next time I go, we'll see if there's anything on it, and I'm all looking forward to that, and I'll definitely share that with you.
Yeah,
So like you said, man, you got a
appreciate
nice
that.
buck with the muzzleloader. The last day of early muzz season, so you might just tell the listeners about your hunt and some lessons learned this year.
Yeah, definitely a lot of lessons learned, and I'll give a more exhaustive telling of the story on my podcast, the First Gen Hunter podcast. But Brent knows some of the background drama. I kind of had a rough go for this early muzz season. I really had to work for it, and um, which is good. It's good to have to work for something. And I think years ago I heard someone say, if you want to get better at deer hunting, you got to quit shooting the first deer you see, because um, you're missing out when you do that. When you basically take away your hall pass to go to the woods, right? Which is your deer tag. Then you're not spending time watching deer do what deer do. And now some years, yeah, like if it's a really cramped schedule, yeah, it's great to tag out on opening uh, morning or whatever, your first sit of the season. But for me this year, I was able to hunt um, pretty much every day. I think there was 3 days of the what is it, Brent, an 8-day season, 9-day season, something like that.
Yeah.
I think there were only 3 days that I didn't hunt for early muzz. So I got ton of uh, a ton of time in the stand, and I'm just thankful for that. Saw some new things, learned some new things about some of the properties that I hunt. Um, and I don't know, it just felt so good when it finally worked out. But I had all these mishaps. I had problems with wet powder. I missed a shot. Uh, had a wounded deer that I think is still living. Actually, Brent helped me out by putting me in contact with a blood tracker who came out, and we looked for a couple hours, and just best we could conclude is, yeah, he's probably still alive. And you hate doing that. And I know some people, whenever they wound something, they count that as punching their tag, and I understand that. However, my family eats deer. We depend on it every year, and so um, I kept at it. And finally, on the last 25 minutes of the season, I was able to get a shot, and it was really cool because I saw that buck come out like close to an hour before last night, and so plenty of daylight left. Um, he was the only deer I saw that night. And he came out into this strip of CRP that we have on our home farm. And, I've helped manage that CRP in the past. I had a connection there. I worked on it with uh, my friend Luke. We burned that together years ago. And so I'm thinking of that time with him and just a great time that we had together. I was sitting in this tree stand that I hung a year earlier with my wife and kids. And, it's just like you're thinking through all these memories, and he just comes walking out of this waterway and makes a scrape at this tree. It's a box elder tree that's growing at the base of that waterway. And I thought about trying to, while he's making that scrape, trying to like quick get a shot, but my hard lessons from earlier in the week, really helped me stay patient, stay true to my game plan. And I was like, no, I got to wait for a better shot, because if I just try to pull up and shoot here, he's definitely going to see me because of the way the tree exposed me. And so I was patient, and that hurt a little bit because he walked off of our property onto the neighbors, and I could see him for like maybe another 10, 15 minutes, and then he disappeared. He went down into the creek bottom, got a drink, and then he just kind of walked out of sight. And it's like, well, he might not show up again, but I really felt like I was sitting near the entry point to one of the best food sources in the area. And so I felt like he would probably circle around upwind of me, actually, which was also made me feel okay about my chances. But I expected him to circle back around me, and possibly come back out to the food source. What I did not expect was him to double back. I don't know if you've noticed, Brent, but it just seems like deer only double back if they're spooked. Like deer are always moving. Whenever they're feeding, they're not just like out there just standing in one spot forever, for 10, 15, 20 minutes. I mean, yeah, they might stay in the same, field or food plot or whatever and browse around for a while, but they're always on the move. And they're usually, like almost like a one-way trip. And I expected him to just kind of walk out, and if I was going to see him again, he's going to circle, but he did end up doubling back. And when I saw him coming back, I just couldn't believe that I was going to get another crack at him. He's a nice 8-point. I'd say he's 3.5. He's not crazy huge by any means, but he's a really nice buck. And so, my heart's pounding. I'm getting super excited. And what I had noticed was where I could have shot him when he was making the scrape earlier, there was 2 big dead limbs off this dead ash tree that was right in front of me. And had I tried to force in a shot, there's a very good chance I would have hit one of those dead limbs. So now I not only had to wait for him to cross back onto our side of the property, but I had to wait for him to get about 15 yards deep into our property to offer me a clear shot. And thankfully, he did that, hopped back over the property line. That, was happening. And he kept walking and got clear of those dead limbs, gave me a wide open shot, slightly quartering away, but almost a broadside shot. And man, there again, just with the mid-taps earlier in the week, I was a shot, Brent. I was mentally there. I was, I knew my muzzleloader was ready to perform correctly because of some adjustments I made. And I I dropped him he was dead probably within 15 seconds. Took the top of his heart off, and he, kind of bucked a little bit. Didn't mule kick, but he kind of bucked and then prodded a few steps and went to turn and run back onto the neighbor's side of the property. But just as he was jumping the property line, he just nose dived right into the ground. And thankfully, it's a right to track state here in Iowa, so I could go retrieve him. But he died right there, in sight of my stand. I don't think I've ever had such a short blood trail, I guess you could say, or death run. It was just immediate. And man, the emotions that I felt after that, I was like fist pumping, doing the silent fist pump. I think it's always kind of a bad idea to like go bonkers screaming and hooting and hollering when you're in a spot that you're hoping to hunt maybe again later in the year. So it was some silent celebration, but man, I was fist pumping and thanking God for the incredible opportunity that he blessed me with. And it was pretty cool when I'd seen that buck earlier and he had crossed back over onto the neighbors. I had texted my wife and my friend Caleb, which you should definitely interview Caleb, Brent. I can't remember if I sent you the picture. He just shot 190s class with his bow out in Illinois last week.
Oh my goodness.
Just an absolute monster. Just had a green scored yesterday, but I'll save some of the details there in case you want to talk to him. But I texted him and my wife, and I was like, big 8 within 50 yards. Please pray I get a shot. And so my wife told me that when I sent that text, she and my kids prayed that I'd get that deer. And they specifically prayed that this buck would basically drop in his tracks, so it wouldn't be another long, track job and everything else that goes into, a more dramatic situation. Animal suffers, that kind of thing. And man, talk about an answered prayer. That buck just went down like instantly, like a load of bricks. And it just was such a encouragement to see it all work out like that. And man, it feels so good to be on this side of it. We had a super late night. I normally prefer to butcher my deer myself, but it was a really warm day. It got up into the 80s that day, and I texted my taxidermist, and shout out to Old Barn Taxidermy in Fort Madison, and they also do deer processing. And I texted him, I'm like, hey, how early can I drop it off tomorrow? He's like, you really need to drop it off tonight, man. It's gonna be it's very hot, so you need to drop them off tonight if you can. So we drove down to the southeastern part of the state, and we didn't get back home until about something in the morning. And but man, it's all part of it, right? It's all part of it. There's nothing easy about deer hunting, really, and there shouldn't be, because it's getting groceries the hard way, I like to call it. And it pushes us, just like it pushed you out of your comfort zone to go find a new place, use a new method of take in a new season, like that. There's a lot of discomfort there. You left your comfort zone and you were rewarded. I know you passed on a decent buck and a few other does that you could have harvested. It paid off to put yourself through that discomfort. And the discomfort for me, obviously going through those hardships, and also the falling action with have to drive all night to get this deer taken care of the right way. And it just feels good to earn it. You know what I mean? Feels really good to earn it. And there's all sorts of different ways you can earn it with hunting. You can earn it by hiking in super far. You can earn it by only hunting public land. You can earn it by doing some property and habitat management work. You can earn it by just being persistent and going back out each morning or evening that you have to hunt, or knocking on some more doors to get some more hunting permission to end up in the right place, or spending time studying on maps, to find the best terrain features and food sources and bedding areas and all that stuff. But I really felt like I had to do whatever it took to earn this buck this year. And so I think it was a pretty fitting end to a very tiring, somewhat frustrating, but overall extremely rewarding. Perhaps the most rewarding buck I've had in quite some time. And so every time I'm going to look at his Euro mount once I get it back, I'm going to think on all these things, and it's good for my kids to see too. It's good for them to see that, oh, wow, hunting isn't just show up at the stand and get it done and, then you're on your merry way. No, it's something you got to work at. If you want it, you got to go and work to get it. So, yeah, overall, man, great season in the end. Wouldn't trade it for anything. And I'll probably be back hunting an early muzz tag again next year.
Buddy, congratulations. Really happy for you, man. And I just want to thank you, for the listeners that maybe don't know. I know we talked about my inexperience of not really doing muzzleloader hunting in my life. Kent helped set me up and get sighted in with my muzzleloader before season started.
Hey,
and buddy,
awesome,
I can't
man.
thank you enough for that. It really meant a lot.
Absolutely, buddy. And that's what it's all about, right? Is just being a good person, and not to say that anyone should consider me a good person, I guess, but like making those decisions that a good person would make, which is, hey, someone's asking for some help. Yeah, if I'm capable of helping, I should help. And you're not just some person, and I know you do the same for me. So
Absolutely.
I was happy to help, and it was fun. It was fun to hang out and shoot our muzzleloaders and I learned some things too from your equipment and some of the components that you had going in with that. It was just good for me to expand my experiences a little bit too. So yeah, it was a great one.
Absolutely, man. And, maybe we'll have some more stories to talk about as we get further into archery season here. I know we're going to wrap things up today, but maybe this conversation isn't over because I know the rut, Kent, is just around the corner. The activity is really picking up steam. So we'll maybe have you back on here in a few weeks. Who knows? But until then, stay safe, man, and good luck when you go out with the bow, okay?
Yeah, same to you, buddy. Thanks again. And yeah, I can't wait to get that BBD text from you over that new public piece that you found.
I'm hoping so. We'll see if it happens. All right.
Yep. We'll talk soon, buddy.
You bet. That's Kent Boucher, First Gen Hunter Podcast. Check out his show. It's a great show. You can get it anywhere you get your podcast. And thanks for joining us here on Outdoor Adventures. This week's show brought to us by Beck's Hybrids. At Beck's, we are and will remain farmers at heart. Well, that'll wrap it up here on Outdoor Adventures. Thanks for watching this week here on Brownfield Ag News.